A 25% tariff on all cars that are not made in the United States. If they're made in the United States, there's absolutely no tariff.
More than 4 years, the automaker CEO seeming to break ranks with much of corporate America right now, delivering some harsh words about President Trump's tariff plan.
It started as a rumor whispered over the hum of stamping presses in Dearborn, barely a tremor. Within days, it detonated through America's Rust Belt like a sonic boom. Ford Motor Company, the blue oval titan that helped write the nation's industrial legend, had slammed on the brakes. Entire plants went dark, shift whistles silenced, livelihoods hung in midair. Why? Tariffs this time, not aimed at foreign competitors, but fired straight from Capitol Hill into Detroit's own chest. Smash that like button to keep Global Pulse cutting through the noise, and let's unravel how one policy choice rippled into economic whiplash. May 17th. Ford drops the hammer. The storied Chicago plant where Explorers once filled railcars shuts its gates. Michigan Assembly, the birthplace of the reborn Bronco stalls. Thousands punch out with no return date. The catalyst? A blanket 25% levy on every imported part and vehicle, part of President Trump's America First trade barrage. The duty that was supposed to force jobs home instead sucker-punched the very lines it aimed to protect, leaving Ford staring at a projected $5 billion earnings hole for 2025. Shockwaves don't respect property lines. General Motors scrambled to rewrite schedules, quietly trimming headcount while dragging truck production back to Indiana. Stellantis iced plants in Canada and Mexico, then axed 900 component jobs across Michigan and Indiana in a single midnight email. One domino fell and the whole corridor rattled. Ford tried a tourniquet, a sudden $2,000 sticker jump on the Mexico-built Mustang Mach-E, Maverick, and Bronco Sport. Customers gasped, dealers fumed, but the math refused to budge. Tap subscribe if you haven't already. This story only gets wilder. Behind the scenes, executives were running out of levers. Steel, aluminum, microchips, even seatbelt sensors, all costlier overnight. The China-assembled Lincoln Nautilus priced itself out of US showrooms. Exports to China halted altogether. The boardrooms used to debating design tweaks were now gaming out plant shutdowns. Reporters cornered Trump. He didn't blink. They should have come back years ago, he shrugged, doubling down on the tariffs. That icy dismissal rippled across C-suites. If Ford could be sacrificed on the altar of policy optics, who was safe next? Stellantis furloughed an entire Mexican SUV line for a month. 5 US stamping plants that fed those models halted in sympathy. Morale cratered. For the first time in years, union reps openly blasted corporate brass on national TV. Survival mode had replaced mere pressure. GM, desperate to show Made in America resilience, lit up its Fort Wayne truck facility, adding a third shift and 200 new hires. A short-term win, but a glaring warning. If suppliers couldn't pivot, even the comeback stories would be temporary. Meanwhile, consumers felt the squeeze. New car prices leapt too. 5% in April alone, the steepest monthly jump in recent memory. Buyers dashed to sign contracts before the next hike, but empty lots greeted them. Inventory thinned, transport delays piled up, once plentiful trims vanished. Ford's last-ditch play. Company-wide employee pricing for everyone usually a wartime measure. Sales blipped upward, but costs still outran revenue. Tariffs meant Mexican parts were 25% pricier. Canadian-assembled cars taxed at the border. Chinese batteries slapped with duties up to 30%. A vice tightening from every angle. CEO Jim Farley called it the fairest fight in decades. Shareholders heard a different subtext. Forecasts slashed, guidance revised, a corporate icon wobbling on its heels despite producing 4/5 of its vehicles in the US. Then the layoffs cascaded outward. Lines that survived the Great Recession finally fell silent. Local diners lost breakfast rushes. Grocery stores watched carts shrink. Repair shops went idle. Governors convened emergency task forces. Michigan mayors pleaded for federal relief. Silence. Wall Street wasn't silent. Auto stocks slid, supplier shares nosedived. Analysts warned of 1 million lost vehicle sales if the tariff war dragged on. Still, Washington held the line. Temporary pain, officials insisted, promising factories would rebound. Industry insiders stopped waiting. Product launches were shelved, engineer teams reshuffled, hiring freezes spread. The North American auto ecosystem, once a finely tuned tri-country ballet, was coming apart. Supply chains crafted over decades can't teleport overnight. Tearing them down is not just expensive, it's risky. Yet survival now trumped efficiency. For every job added in Indiana, another vaporized in Ontario. A shell game with fewer and fewer shells. Partisan trench lines deepened. The White House claimed victory was near. Democrats warned of a slow-motion implosion. Workers, caught in the crossfire, watched paychecks thin and futures blur. And the blowback has barely begun. Beijing has already retaliated. Fresh tariffs on US vehicles, orders evaporating, global buyers pivoting to Korean and European brands. American cars risk becoming too pricey abroad and, soon, perhaps at home. Ford isn't dead, but it's staggered. The men and women who punched clocks for decades now stare at idled lines and ask the forbidden question, was it worth it? That answer will shape the next chapter of America's industrial story. Stay tuned, because on Global Pulse, we follow the tremors until the ground finally settles.